Are you putting the handcuffs on the results that you should be seeing in the gym? I'll tell you, if you're overlooking this important upper body muscle, you absolutely are. Let me explain to you and show you exactly what I'm talking about today. What's up guys, Jeff Cavalier, ATHLEAN-X.com. Today we are going to talk about that overlooked, undertrained muscle in the upper body. It's the rotator cuff. I said you're putting the handcuffs on your potential in the gym if you're overlooking the rotator cuff. Now, one of the first big mistakes that guys will make is they sort of refer to the rotator cuff as a single muscle, right? I tore my rotator cuff. We got to look at that first and foremost and see what it is we're truly talking about. As we refer to the skeleton, now guys, for everybody that sent in a name suggestion, he finally has a name, right? I was definitely partial to the Jeff Cavalier. I thought that was brilliant. I just didn't think it might get confusing, especially I have a tendency to mumble. It might get confusing between the two of us. So we couldn't go with that, but I did like the X-Ray name. So his official name will be Raymond. We're going to shorten it X-Ray because we're going to use this guy, as I've already referred to be able to break down the science behind the strength and show you guys everything that it is we're trying to understand. So to acknowledge those that sent in that name, DF Nightmare, Lars Nielsen, Andre Santos, James McCallum, and Avatar Ang 926. Guys, you guys all sent in that name, and you guys are getting recognition here for that. So we look at the rotator cuff. Again, it's 4 muscles, guys, and the primary job here of the rotator cuff is to externally rotate the shoulder. What I mean by that is it doesn't matter what position you're holding your arm in. External rotation is to take the arm and basically rotate it behind us. So if I have it in this classic 90-degree position, external rotation would be pushing it back and behind us. If I'm an athlete, a pitcher, external rotation is moving it back this way. You can see how important that is, the motion backwards. Okay, even if I have my arm straight in front of me, external rotation is turning it backwards because the ball and socket, as I'll show you on here, is rotating externally, outward. Here's the 4 muscles. We start off with the supraspinatus. Now, look on the other side first. This is the scapula, okay? This is called the spine of the scapula. Something that sits above, above the spine would be called supraspinatus. The one that's below the spine is called the infraspinatus. So we have our supraspinatus tendon and muscle that runs here. We have our infraspinatus here, and we have our teres minor here. They all insert in the same spot on the outside, sort of the top portion here of our upper arm bone. The main role of those 3 muscles, guys, is to externally rotate the shoulder. If I turn this guy around, he basically has one more muscle that's in the rotator cuff group. It's called the Subscapularis. It's the one inside here, right there, subscapular. In other words, inside on the underside of the scapula. This one's job is to internally rotate the shoulder. The problem there, guys, is that we know that we have plenty of muscles that internally rotate the shoulder. We have our lats that help to internally rotate our shoulder, right? We have our chest that helps to internally rotate our shoulder. They're all pulling everything this way. We don't need any extra help there. If you don't train the rotator cuff muscles, though, these small little guys, the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor, if you don't train them, consciously train them, then you are not externally rotating the shoulder. You are going to develop an imbalance of a forward rounded shoulder. I want to point out, guys, this number 2 most popular injury that keeps guys out of the gym, or the most injured joint that keeps guys out of the gym, i.e. not training at all and not making progress, is the shoulder. The low back is number 1, the shoulder is number 2, the knee is number 3. So if you're not protecting your shoulders, guys, it's damn hard to do bench presses, overhead shoulder presses, even tricep work without really hurting yourself. You need to keep your shoulders healthy. You need to have a conscious effort on externally rotating your shoulder with an idea of strengthening them. Again, I showed you here, it doesn't matter the position, these muscles will contract to externally rotate the head of the shoulder here in the joint. But when people refer to a torn rotator cuff, they're usually referring to just one of those muscles getting torn because of this overuse or pinching inside the shoulder joint. So let's take one more look at that, and then I'll show you some of the exercises that you can do to help to combat this. Okay, so again, we have the head of our humerus here, which is our the main bone up here in the arm that goes, and it's formed the shoulder joint by having all this ligamentous capsule and again the tendons from these rotator cuffs, again cuffing it, creating some sort of stability for the joint. We've got the deltoid that runs over the top, and then we've got our acromion, which is this bone right here. Right? It forms the roof of this joint. So when people talk about tearing the rotator cuff, what happens is usually they'll get an inflammation of the bursa that's in their shoulder that will close down the space that's in here, or they'll start to have a migration of the head higher into this space. Why? Because there's an imbalance of strength between the deltoid and the fact that we never train our rotator cuffs. The rotator cuff is going to pull this thing down and maintain that space. If all you do is deltoid training, this is going to close more and more and more and more until your head of the humerus is way up in that joint. Now when you try to up and raise your arm up, you get a grinding, and the tendons are right in that spot, and you're going to eventually grind it down like a rope over a piece of metal to the point where that thing just tears and completely tears or partially tears, and that's when one of the muscles here of the rotator cuff gets torn. All right? So the focus here, guys, is we want to make sure that we are actively working on training, and just to sort of underscore this point, you can't just be following any training program. One of my pet peeves is to look at training programs and see how many times they're asking you to externally rotate versus internally rotate. And in an upper body workout from one of the, I'm not going to name names, one of the most popular workout programs available, an upper body workout had 420 repetitions in that workout. Guess how many of them externally rotated the shoulder? 0. Not a single rep of the 420 in this upper body workout externally rotated the shoulder. You want to talk about creating imbalances, that's the fastest way to get there. And ATHLEAN-X, we make sure that we build in dedicated external rotation, dedicated shoulder rotator cuff work, because we want to be able to combat that. We don't want to be just like the other guys. We want to give you guys smart training. All right, so I'm going to show you just a couple of the moves that you can do to combat this in your training. Again, light work, yes, but very, very important for the stability and the health of your shoulder. There you have it, guys. There's just some options. Again, what I wanted you to notice is the difference in my position. It was always external rotation. It didn't matter if I was laying on my side, if I was standing, if I was crossing my body, if I was bringing my arm up more in a thrower's position. The idea is it's external rotation. And we also have to understand we have to work eccentrically the same muscles that we're working concentrically. So it's a big deal, guys. These guys are extremely important, as I said, to lending stability to your shoulder joint, and as you can see, they connect to your shoulder blades and to your upper arm. So thinking that there's no impact of these muscles when you're doing even things like bench press, where your shoulder blades are pinned to the bench, there's a huge impact on what these muscles can do and the stability they can provide, and therefore unlock and uncuff your ability to start performing better on those major lifts. All right? So just because they're small, don't disregard them, guys. Important, important, important. Like I said, for more information, if you want a complete training program that trains you all over, not just the muscles we see, but the muscles that we know are important, then get the ATHLEAN-X training program. You can find that over at ATHLEAN-X.com. If you like these videos, as always, these Academy Lab videos, make sure you leave your thumbs up below as well. And finally, again, thank you guys. Raymond's happy. He's got a name now. Raymond, look at the camera. There he is. He can look at. He's extremely flexible, this guy. We thank you. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll be back here again in just a couple days.